just answering questions with WAPTech. I'm going to answer them first and then read the questions. Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi's Pacific Heights, San Francisco, security through obscurity, outside versus inside. It has come to light today that the person who did the attack and attempted to murder her husband has admitted to going there with a hammer with the purpose of breaking her kneecaps, at least. I guess he thought saying he was going to do that is better than the attempted murder charge. He's guilty of an attempted murder, whether or not he wants to, cop to it. He's removed all doubt, and it's dumb to say otherwise. Primary responsibility for protecting the Speaker of the House and all of the other lawmakers, de facto, falls upon the Capitol Police only in Washington, D.C. Most do not use any other outside security. I don't know if you know this, but we live in a mostly civilized society, and those of you who think it's shocking that she doesn't have security, not the one who commented today, but others, I wonder what your biases are and intentions. She had put in security only when threats happened, and only temporarily, and only put in security that was needed to make sure that people would be caught doing it. This is not a direct quote, but it's an amalgamation of direct quotes about what happened the previous times. Her house got egged. Someone put some, tagged her front, the garage door. People protested outside her house. And because of where she is, there's certain rules that you need to be aware of, like you're not required to put up a fence line to say this is private property. In fact, it's on your end. It's not on the onus is on the person who's protesting to know where to stand or not. And you advise to put a chalk line in, which has happened. You can even see that a few places. Capitol Police DC Command Center was receiving Pelosi's home security camera feed, but because it was just any other day, nobody was really paying attention to it, because this area has a peculiarity. Nothing ever happens in this area. Let me explain. The San Francisco address they're at is in a 9x14 block, 1.4 mile across diagonal block of space called Pacific Heights, which makes it a needle in a haystack because of the odd angle the roads are at and the effect they have on Google Street View cameras all over the place. It has nothing to do with her house. It's all of them. Limiting the number of years that show up on Google Street View. A specific year will show up per road, maybe 2 different ones, but they're not extras going a specific angle. Unless you have the address, it's a needle in the haystack. Even after they tagged the garage in 2021, this obscurity and the fact that most news businesses don't publish her physical address by naming it or naming a specific street, this worked as late as a month after that tagging incident, where people protesting wanted to find the location and couldn't. People were also trying to publish her location publicly and get people to show up to harass her. And it didn't work because they gave the wrong address, a bombastically wrong address. Now we're going to discuss building codes. Yes, everyone loves it when I do these things. Looking up the building codes in the area, you're allowed to reinforce your building's first few floors for earthquake purposes. They don't set an upper limit on how much steel reinforced concrete you're allowed to install after the building's been put in, as long as it doesn't violate rules. You can also request a property be done that way and obscure the fact that you've done it to keep from lowering property values and hiding the fact that you've reinforced it against an impact from a tank or an atom bomb. Pro tip, it's possible to look up building orders and data even if they obscure it, because you can just look it up. It's just, you have to know what dusty caverns of the internet to look it up in. Archives are great. I'm an archivist. Don't ram that building, please. So anyway, the next thing is looking at it from Google Street View, the unobscured Google Street View that's on the actual street that's named. Because obviously if you know the name of this 253-foot long road in the major metropolitan area, it has an unobscured view of her house. Full road for many years, plus and minus. Nothing's obscured. But if you go to the adjacent road, it gets obscured. And there's only 1 year for it. Again, every other road with the same orientation, slightly cockeyed, has the same problem. the sunlight screwed up the camera work, and they threw out entire years. Every time a Google Street View van goes through, they hope they get a good one. 2019 was the last time they got a good one, and they did obscure Pelosi's house. But they obscured a specific vehicle in front of it, and a person who was getting out of it. And did you know that you can look up public records requests like that? Because people do that for some reason. It was a specific individual that went to the wrong address and didn't want to be associated with the location. And I can guarantee you, as soon as they can get a good, clean view of that road, not obscuring Pelosi's house, I guarantee you she's going to request that that one be put in its place. Because quality control reasons. And also because then you will never find it. Well, it's a unique-looking building. Just like every other building in the area, it's a needle in a haystack. Because it's so unique, it's not special in any way, because all of them are trying to look different from each other. Anyway, it's a red brick, upright building. Very Borg-like building on the lower floor. Do you know what a running distance is? If you're a security person, your ears perked up. That's the distance needed to automotive injure a building. Can't use certain words here. It doesn't have one. You would have to go. This is San Francisco. You're not going to get a straight run at the building. Okay. What about the other end? It's less than a certain number of 100 feet. It's actually not 200 and something feet. I'm just being obscure about it. But really, it's a very short distance. That building is over reinforced and could probably take a direct hit from a fucking tow missile. Next, that door is not as weak as it looks. I know it isn't. Because the Google Street View shows certain characteristics that I'm not bringing up. And I also mean the garage door. This thing is a giant trap begging for you to do something stupid so you go to prison for a long time. It's 5 to 10 years, number one level. That's bare minimum, depending on what you do if you attack a relative or any member of Congress. The guy who did this is fucked 5 ways from Sunday. He's done. Local trespassing laws. Again, if you don't know what chalk and line is, there's no behooving that you put up a good fence. By the way, there's a very jumpable looking, tempting little fence line on that north walkway, begging for you to be funneled into that location, that pathway. Anyway, the glass door in the back was torn, not smashed. That thing was reinforced. It was designed not to be gotten through too easily, but the guy got through it because apparently he looked up how to get through a window like that, maybe? I don't know. I know how to do it. I'm not going to tell you how, but he used a hammer the right way to get through. It probably took him a while. He did this late at night, surprised the person living in the place because it isn't soundproof or anything. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's soundproof. I'm pretty sure the upper floors of that building are heavily have extra material in them for specific purposes. The fact that he came down the stairs is the reason he probably got hurt. Well, no, that's not it either. The guy went upstairs looking for him and found him in his room. And again, he stated that he was trying to break Nancy's kneecaps. So someone asked me to evaluate the security. I don't believe the cameras, there's 2 aimed one way and 2 aimed the other directions on each side of the building. I don't believe those are the real cameras. Next, there was a continuous feed to Washington, D.C., but apparently someone was asleep at the switch or whatever. Next, it's a gigantic honeypot. It's a trap so that you get arrested and put under federal charges. Next, everyone in the area has it in their best interest, even if they don't like Nancy, to make sure no one knows where her house is. In most, not all, reports of the area, they take down the street sign that would give you an idea of exactly where she is. The ones that show you a long goose chase of dozens of roads to go on, those are visible. And they took it down when the helicopter was going around. I've seen that done in Portland too. The idea is to make it to where if someone's a victim of a violent event, you can't find it. A British news report and a couple of other photos from other incidents like egging her house, they weren't considered violent enough for somebody to take down that sign, and people took pictures of the sign. They don't state her address, though, because it's considered inappropriate behavior. Conservatives are more likely to dox her location and try to get her hurt, though. Yes, I said it. Let's get to the questions. I find it odd there wasn't security around Pelosi's house. Normally she has some, and a system comparative to Fort Knox. If you knew how overtly obvious the stuff at Fort Knox is that is over shit that isn't being protected, and how all of the really hidden stuff is where you actually hide all the gold or whatever you're thinking is there, yeah, this is similar in that way, but not the way you might be thinking. She used to, especially before the elections, and I'm sure it hasn't changed. I'm pretty sure anyway. When she travels down the street, they got black SUVs and sky security. You'd almost think she was the president. I'm talking about D.C. The secession of who takes over the government after the president dies and vice president. There's this whole link of group of people, and 18 layers deep, every one of them is protected because that way you can't take out the entire U.S. government. That's just to make sure that we can't have a functioning government. It's not because it's Nancy. Look up the secession. I just don't think I am wrong about her security in her home being low. I just find it highly unusual that he was even able to gain movement on the ground. Again, it's designed to make it to where you're under criminal trespass first, and then a dozen other laws kick in, depending on what you do. And the security cameras are there to document, and I'm sure there's more than those 4 security cameras. Those are the visible ones that entice you to cut a cable or hit or smack one of them and go to prison for that alone. Yes, it's prison, not jail. And you'll be imprisoned painfully for things that sound very, very petty. This guy's being charged with elder abuse, which makes him sound like a complete douchebag, but it's going to carry maximum time. Criminal trespass sounds a little, like a little bitch charge, but maximum time for every one of these because of who it was done to and the property. I'm telling you that this woman normally has a lot of security. Maybe the guy was a little miffed about such and such. He's a conspiracy theory consumer. That's all there is to it. And then some comments about the person appreciating me and stuff and saying don't get mad at me. And I'm like, I'm not mad at you. Now I'm going to review. Again, we're at the almost 12-minute mark here. The security at that building is designed to be completely invisible. The things you can see aren't the real security. The building itself has been reinforced, I'm absolutely sure, with very high pressure concrete and steel reinforcing plates, not just bars. I'm pretty sure it has a very, very, very stout basement because the building is built in such a way it has to have a giant ass basement. And that basement does not show any openings going to the outside world. But he was sleeping not in the panic room, he was sleeping in the top floor or one of the other floors. Next, the building is deceptively designed to funnel you a certain way. Like a rat trap. Unless this guy got clever and climbed the back very high, flat, smooth wall that's obscured, because he was, they're obscuring it, I should go there. He probably went right up the walkway and is on video. Next, the video isn't being suppressed. They have video recording. It was funneled. They just didn't see him. They didn't notice him. He probably went by the area or looked at it in Google Street View just like I did and figured out that if he did a good long run, he could just leap over that and have almost no visibility of him on camera. Unless it's at a full frame rate of 60 frames a second, all they're going to see is a blur because it's nighttime. There's some video cameras, I'm sure, that are better than that, but the main view they would have gotten would be the optical cameras. Bandwidth issues. Next thing, unless he climbed that back wall, I don't believe so, or got into the other person's yard and climbed their back wall, which means it's not her security videos, it's theirs. Him getting in the back was basically him probably doing what I did. Look at Google Street View and look for the only way in. And I wouldn't do that at gunpoint. That's as soon as you touch the dirt, you're violating many, many laws, and they're going to give you maximum penalties. And I guarantee you they got good, clear images of them. 1350. Why aren't they giving out the video? In case you're not aware of this, I gotta tell everybody this because we've seen evidence of it finally, and I can say it. Anytime somebody does a politically motivated attack on somebody, they always hold back stuff and wait for people to open their mouths on Gab, where they think everything's secure, and out themselves, and put themselves on a list of people to be monitored permanently by walking out in front of their house and standing there staring at them. You're all falling in a trap. You're all being trolled out there. And to the person who left these comments, thank you for making me look this up. So he pretty much did a leap over a really short fence gate, got in the back area, maybe busted a lock here and there, broke in by bashing through not the good grade glass panel I would have put in, and woke up a guy who obviously was in a room that was so soundproof because it was probably designed to tolerate being hit by a tow missile. And he didn't run to the panic room like he should have. That's it. Security errors all around, but Do they have high security there? No, because they don't need it, because the building is designed to take an atom bomb blast. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.